Hello and welcome to this update video, as it's finally time to take down the tomatoes in the greenhouse and start cutting some wood, firewood and building material for the fall projects. We also have started working on those fall and winter projects and were able to finish up the first one of those. And we finally made our new little greenhouse winter-proofed. For now, that's gonna be it for this project. Our greenhouse produced quite okay tomatoes this year, so we have to wait a little bit to look for the final numbers. But for now, it's time to cut all these tomatoes. Actually, some of them started to grow again, especially in the center. You can see it on the sides or on the edges of the greenhouse. We had a lot of frost bites or frost burns on them. As we had 2 frosty nights in October, a lot of them died off. You can see the majority of them on the left-hand side top where they are so brownish. And a lot of them started to sprout again at the bottom where they are super green. But they won't produce any very tasteful fruits, so it was time for us to take them down and clear out the greenhouse so that we can start with the winter processes. And I'm very thankful that we had a special little helper helping us cleaning out the greenhouse, as it's quite a challenge to do. You can see quite drastically in the greenhouse how time passes. This is what it looked like at the mid-ish November, and this is just what it looked like at the start of September, and now at the end of, or close to the end of November, this is how it looks now. And as always in fall, we start with our fall and winter projects, which include a lot of wood, which we have to process. We purchased this wood from a quite local sawmill. The whole wood has a very good quality when it comes down to the growth of it, as you can see it in the rings. But also it's kiln dried, so it's already at a certain moisture level that we could work with it. We let it dry a little bit further in the workshop and stack it up close to the heater. I know that's not the best way to do it, but that's the spot that we have. As you can see, it's quite a lot of wood that we want to chop down or cut into length. Last year, I let a lot of them in their 4-meter length sit in a workshop, which was really frustrating working around of them. So this year, I'm cutting all of those to a certain size, so rough cut, which will be already cut for the particular projects which we have in mind to build with them. But of course, it will be cut to a certain overlength that we don't run into the problem then having to short wood beams for the projects when we want to do them. I do like the season in summer and spring when we work on the fields, and there's a lot of lovely work that I like to do to be done, but especially look forward to those winter projects as it gets slower and nothing gets too hectical, as plants don't demand your life too much anymore and you can focus on the projects laying ahead. And I also like this task of putting the wood into the rack so I know what's coming next. After 1.5 days, this is what our wood rack looked like. But I'm not just the only person who starts with those winter projects. Cutter, after cutting her holiday a little bit short, came back and started straight ahead with a new project that she had in mind and that we needed for quite some time, which was our wardrobe. Unfortunately, we just have footage in this format, that's why I'm trying to cut it a little bit together to have a little bit better overview what is going on. The used wood, the used parts and the wood are actually the old wardrobe which had been hanging before we moved the entrance to her room. And I have to say the final result is super nice and is already heavy in use. And as Kata was already working on it, she started the next upcycling project with the leftover pieces of the wardrobe that she has upcycled and some old pine board. And this is gonna become a new wardrobe, as we're still missing one between the new rooms in the first floor, which have now separate accesses, so that the inhabitants of those rooms can put their stuff somewhere as well. We had these shelf boards laying around from another shelf, which we haven't been really using in our young plant room. The substructure for this was very wobbly, so just those shelf boards were really proper nice. So I decided to build some new substructure for it and started with the freshly delivered wood to plane and thickness them. And as I have just sharpened my planer, I started working with a planer on them instead of a router, which is pretty neat and nice to me to take that time and do it. It's not that much work, but it's way more satisfying and less noisy. And then it was already time to put everything together. I used some wonky structure to assemble it. Those beams have been pre-drilled so that all of the shelf boards are on the same level, or certain same level, as those shelf boards have already holes in them where the former screws were in. It was very easy to fit it all together. Just need some wood glue here and there, and I just needed some smaller modifications during that process. But once again, I wasn't properly prepared, so I had to improvise along the way. But for this, it's totally fine. It's just a rack that's gonna stand in the basement, so not having it super perfectly looking good is, for me at least, far good enough. After putting in some cross beams to make everything a little bit more stiff, and some other beams that should strengthen the diagonals, the thing was done. And I'm pretty pleased. It's just like half of the morning used for it, and it will do the job fine. And as we had some very helping hands in November for a couple of days, we put into good work and starting to stack up our firewood stack, which is always a pretty tedious and hard task. We need 3 of those tractor carriers full for 1 year, or for the season that we heat, and having people helping us stacking this, cutting this, and restacking it from the place where we get it is really neat and helps out a lot. So thanks to those 2 again. Something we do like a lot is that this firewood comes from the forest surrounding us. The forest belongs to one of our neighbors, and he cuts the trees, saws them to length, and then splits the wood. We just get them in those 1 meter wood pieces, and we just have to cut it. But it's super nice for us to have such a close local source for our burning material. This was a project that lasted longer than I thought. Usually we're pretty good with calculating the length of our projects and finishing them up, but this was a project taking way longer than expected. As this started in April and I thought it would be done before summer, we just finished in the last video the walls, so just finishing off some of those things that we thought would be done way earlier, but it's how it is in life. Sometimes things take longer or something else is more important. So in the last video you have seen us putting up those walls that we have stacking, laying around, making the seams as close as possible. We still have to seal up some of those. And now with the new wood, we just finished the door and closed up some more of the seams which had been open. There's still a little bit to do, but the general stuff for this year is over and we're done with it. And actually we're already starting to plant the first herbs in it, or the first herb seedlings have been planted already, and now we'll have their winter time in there, and we will see how it works in the next year to split the young plants between the greenhouse that we already have, the glass greenhouse, and this greenhouse, so that we can have more space for those young plants to grow. And a short, sad notice at the end. Our lovely dog, Lena, closed her eyes in the mid of November forever. And I'll keep it short because I'm tearing up already.